Hello, Lucy and Conrad and Caleb. Papa and Spider-Man are back to tell you another Avengers adventure. This one is the Avengers Their Darkest Hour. Oh my, that sounds momentous. I want to remind you that outside of their work as a team, each of our heroes fights their own villains in their own stories. Remember, last week we looked at the Masters of Evil and we were introduced to the Melter, who is Iron Man's enemy, the Black Knight, who is an enemy to Giant Man and the Wasp, and also the radioactive man that had been Thor's enemy. In this story, we're going to be introduced to the Executioner and the Enchantress, and they're both from Asgard. So, as you would expect, they have fought Thor before, and now they've come to Earth and they're teaming up with Zemo, who is Captain America's old enemy from his earlier life. All right, so let's move into our main story here. And look, here are the Avengers having a conference in their headquarters. It's saying that at a special board of inquiry session, the Avengers meet to consider a most serious charge brought against one of their own members, that is Iron Man. Thor is saying, Iron Man, you chose to ignore a call from us 6 days ago. How do you explain that deed? Giant Man says, better speak up, mister. We're all waiting. What are they talking about? Well, in a separate story, Tony Stark almost decided to give up being Iron Man because he was tired of not having a personal life. You know, these superheroes have to drop whatever they're doing and go fight villains whenever they pop up. And so he was weary of that, but he repented and now he still wants to be a part of the Avengers. So he's been brought before the others, and Iron Man says, I can offer no defense. I allowed a personal problem to affect my sense of duty. Captain America says, we are pledged not to pry into each other's personal lives. Yet if there is something that we can do, Iron Man says, no, there is nothing anyone can do. But gosh, Iron Man, says Rick Jones, if you won't level with them, how can the Avengers help? Wasp says, too late for that now, Rick. Thor and Giant Man are ready for the vote. Iron Man, we have reached a decision, says Giant Man. Thor admits it is the most painful one. Captain America says, we find you guilty of failing to answer an Avengers alarm. And Iron Man realizes, it's what I deserve. Though I can't tell them, I had almost foolishly decided to quit the Avengers because of my injured heart. But they must never know that I am really Tony Stark, whose life hangs by a thread. You tell him the sentence, Thor. Thor says, you are hereby suspended from all Avengers activities and duties for a period of 1 week. You may go now. At that very moment, an unimaginable distance away in the fabled kingdom of Asgard, home of the legendary Norse gods, a similar scene is taking place as Odin, Lord of Asgard, thunders, I banish you both from this realm. Odin is Thor's father, and he's the king of the Norse gods in Asgard. He continues, you are sentenced to spend your exile upon the planet Earth. Well, who is he talking to? Look, it's the Enchantress and the Executioner. The Enchantress says, my lord, Have mercy upon the executioner and me. Quiet, enchantress, says the executioner. We are lucky to escape with our lives for attacking his son Thor not long ago. So Odin says, let the weapon and the helmet of the executioner be stripped from him. And now send them both across the rainbow bridge to Earth. Odin has spoken. The enchantress thinks, at least on Earth, I'll be near the handsome Thor again. And then, who knows? But the executioner is thinking, bah, among the weak mortals of Earth, what need have I of my helmet or axe? My power will be supreme. Perhaps there I can manage finally to win the heart of the beautiful enchantress. So there's going to be kind of this romantic triangle between the enchantress, who's interested in Thor, and the executioner, who's interested in the enchantress. And so, in a ceremony of incredible pomp and pageantry, the evil executioner is divested of his awesome symbolic axe and his almost impregnable helmet, while the exquisite enchantress allows her thoughts to turn to the mighty thunder god, whom she has loved for ages. But there is another who watches the scene with great relief welling up in his scheming heart. Who can that be? Who is the schemer, the god of mischief, who is in Asgard? Yes, it's Loki, the thunder god's sinister arch enemy. And he thinks, I am fortunate that Odin does not suspect that they were merely following my suggestions when they attacked Thor. My plan may yet succeed. With both of them on Earth, the accursed Thor will never be truly safe. And so the executioner and the enchantress leave the throne room, and they cross the rainbow bridge. So the enchantress and the executioner cross the eternal rainbow bridge, beginning their long dramatic exile upon the planet below. And so it comes to pass, once our two Asgardians are on Earth, there they are in the center of the street. The policeman says, what's going on here? What's holding up traffic? This driver says, who are those two? What are they advertising? Boy, it looks like they're advertising something. They're all dressed up. The policeman says, look, Mac, how you and your lady friend dress in public is your business, so long as you don't break the law. But when you start interfering with the traffic around here, you dare speak thus to me, says the executioner. The policeman doesn't know who he's talking to. The enchantress, though, says, quiet, you fool. He is a guardian of the law. It is necessary to obey him. And so, reluctantly, the executioner allows himself to be led from the scene. What manner of men are these? He asks. None is clad in battle armor. The enchantress answers, we have much to learn about the customs of Earth. See how they stare at me, grumbles the executioner. This causes me great displeasure. At a gesture from the fearsome-looking warrior, the crowd scatters, instinctively sensing the superhuman power of the stranger in their midst. Away, puny mortals! Let none crowd about me. Where the executioner walks, he walks alone. So look, people are running away from him. See how they flee, boasts the executioner. But they are so numerous, they are as many as the sands on the beach. This is no good, says Enchantress. We do not understand them. We are strangers in a strange world. We need an ally, one to lead us, to fight with us. But who? And look, there's a newspaper at her feet. Fate steps in as the enchantress sees a headline on a newspaper beneath her feet. The leader of Masters of Evil escapes. Zemo flees the country. And it's a story about Zemo Enchantress thinks perhaps he is the one we seek. But let us turn our attention to a gym on the other side of town where we find the colorful Captain America beginning one of his daily workouts. And so Rick Jones is back here holding on to the shield, and Captain America says, "Are you sure these are the toughest wrestlers you've got?" "Well, look, it's 5 of them. They look plenty tough to me." The manager says, "Mister, you'll know it when the ambulance comes for you, but if that's what you want." "All right, boys," says Captain America, "I'm paying for this, so give me my money's worth. Let's see some action." And 2 guys jump for him. "Come on, Crusher, let's get it over with fast. He'll be a pushover, but look, he ducks. Oof!" And they run into each other in midair. "Put a little more muscle into it, gentlemen," says Captain America. "The enemies I'm liable to meet in the future aren't apt to go easy on me." "Come on, you guys," says one wrestler. "Give him what he wants. Piles on." So Captain America grabs one of them by the neck. And then he tosses him. The wrestler says, "Hey, where'd he go? Look out. What's happening?" He's like greased lightning as he tosses his attackers around. "Here," says Captain America, "I'll stay still long enough for you to grab me. Now act like you mean it." "Don't worry, bud. We mean it all right. Let's show him he ain't as good as he thinks, Moose." "I'm with you, Crusher. Give him the old 1-2. And so Crusher grabs his feet, and Moose grabs him by the arms. But look, Cap just brings his body together, whoop, and he says, "Careful, boys, this is a new maneuver I've dreamed up. Here it comes," and they knock each other's heads. Minutes later, they're all lined up on the floor. Cap says, "Thanks, fellas. Same time tomorrow?" "You kidding?" asks one of them. "If we want any more action, we'll get it in the ring where it's safe." So Captain America knocked out 5 wrestlers. Later, as the indomitable adventurer returns to his quarters with his young friend Rick Jones, he's looking at a photo album and he's remembering all my training, all my skill, and still I was unable to save Bucky years ago. You remember that story, don't you? Well, look, here comes Rick Jones, and he's dressed up in Bucky's old uniform. He says, "Say, Cap, look what I just found tucked away in one of the closets. Isn't this the outfit your ex-partner Bucky used to wear? Look how it fits me. Anyone would think I'm your partner." Cap looks up, but he doesn't look happy. Rick realizes it. He says, "Cap, what's wrong? Why are you looking at me that way?" "Take it off. I never told you to wear it." "But Cap, what's bugging you?" asks Rick. "I didn't do anything. I didn't know you were going to get angry. All I did..." Cap says, "Take it off." Then he snatches the mask off of Rick's face. "Don't ever call yourself my partner again. I lost my partner. I'll never forgive myself for letting it happen, and I'll never let it happen again." Oh, Cap is really angry, and poor Rick, he's puzzled. And then Cap buries his face in his hands and he says, "Do you think I could bear it if anything happened to you too? I'll never have another partner. I won't be responsible for another life. Never." "It was Zemo who caused Bucky's death. I'll never rest till I've found him. Do you hear? Zemo will pay for what he's done." And so Captain America remembers Zemo, that man in the mask. And look, speaking of Zemo, even as the vengeful Captain America speaks, the man he's referring to sits on a crude throne deep in the wilds of a South American jungle where he reigns as undisputed ruler. And he says, from this day on, I'm raising the taxes you must collect for me. So he's greedy, and he's taking money away from the South Americans. Don't just stand there, you worthless fools. Go to the tribes. Start collecting my tribute. That is Zemo's command. Faster! I must have treasure. More and more treasure. I must buy weapons, troops, equipment. Before I'm finished, the whole world will pay homage to Zemo, the king. And so the South Americans scatter, seeking the treasure that Zemo demands. And then as the evil tyrant examines the wealth in his treasure room, look, here are two images. The enchantress says, Zemo, you are the one we seek. Zemo says, what? Who are you? How did you get here? And the executioner says, she is the enchantress, and I, the executioner. Another one, stay back. No one can have my treasure. And so he throws a stick, but look, it just passes through the vision of the executioner. He says, mortal fool, your so-called treasure is meaningless to us. Enchantress adds, it will do you no good to rage against us. Our visual images are here. Our real selves are in the city called New York. We have come to ask you to join forces with us. We know that Captain America is your mortal enemy. We can help you defeat him. Our power is greater than his, and in return you can help us get our revenge upon Thor. By thunder, says Zemo, I'll do it. My other allies, the Radioactive Man and the Melter, are still in the hands of the police back in America. But with two such as you beside me, I can still accomplish anything. We'll begin immediately. So be it, says the executioner. My limbs thirst for combat. And the enchantress thinks, somehow, some way, I've got to think of a scheme to make the mighty Thor mine. Sometime later, Giant Man and the Wasp prepare for a short journey to New England to begin a scientific investigation of insect life. Giant Man says, we won't be gone too long. If you need us, use our special radio wavelength to reach us. Wasp says you can reach him poking around in anthills. As for me, I'll be shopping in some of those fabulous Cape Cod antique stores. And then as they fly off, Giant Man says, you'll be typing my research notes, young lady, or else you can stay behind. And then the Wasp answers, you, sir, are about as romantic as the rotor blade on this silly old plane. Thor says, do not be late for our next meeting. Iron Man will be with us again. And then Thor swings his hammer. Now I too must return to other matters. And so, my friends, until our next meeting, farewell. Rick stands back and says, boy, you really blow up a storm with that hammer of yours, Thor. Captain America says, stand back, give him room. Well, I think so. Wow, that hammer swinging around could be really dangerous. And then he flies off. Rick says, look like some guys will do anything to save plane fare, right, Cap? But Cap says, we mustn't joke about such a man. We're privileged to call him friend. Later, as the colorful masked Avenger and his young companion take a shortcut through the park, they are unaware of a grim-faced, silent stranger who has been patiently stalking them. The stranger thinks, I have timed it perfectly. This is the correct moment. Now, to show myself. Captain America says, I didn't know anyone was in that thicket. And he thinks, usually I can hear the slightest footfall. It takes a very special person to catch me by surprise. Captain America, says the stranger, I must speak with you. It is a most important matter. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Hans Grubervelt, formerly second in command to the infamous Dr. Zemo. Captain America says, anyone who is associated with Zemo is an enemy of mine. That makes you an ex-Nazi criminal too. Wait, you must not lose your temper. I have come to repent, to undo some of the harm I did in the past. Rick grabs Cap and says, easy, Cap. You can't just go around fighting guys just because they used to be Nazis. He's more than just an ex-Nazi. He's my one chance to find Zemo again. Where is he hiding? Talk. That's why I have searched for you, says the stranger, to tell you the evil Zemo has carved a small empire in an uncharted area of the Amazon jungle. I can tell you how to find it. Seconds later, after the man who calls himself Hans Grubervelt has finished talking, that's all I need to know, says Cap as he brushes the fellow away. Nothing can save Zemo from me now. Cap, wait, hollers Rick. You remain here, Rick, at Avengers Headquarters Control Center. What I must do now, I must do alone. Well, the stranger says it worked, and so the trap is sprung. What trap? Look, he takes off his mask. The one called Giant Man will be away for days. Iron Man too has left the scene, and I have lured Captain America to a far distant land. Look, the stranger is really the executioner in disguise. He says that means only Thor remains, and now he will have to face the Enchantress and the executioner alone. Later, as Thor flies through the air, he hears, Thor, Thor. What is that strangely haunting call I hear? Thor, Thor. It's coming from below, down there. It is the Enchantress. The Enchantress was calling Thor with her mystical power. She thinks, my spells are as potent as ever. This time I shall triumph. Then, before the mighty Thunder God can shield himself, she speaks, my will is your will. I am your master. You must obey the Enchantress. And look, her thoughts project toward Thor. She realizes so great is his power that my spell will only last for brief minutes, but once I reinforce it with a special brew, it will last long enough to suit my purposes. And so as he sits there under the Enchantress's thrall, she hands him the cup. She says, drink, handsome one, drink deep, noble Thor. And then she thinks, I've done it. The rest is child's play for me. And with the Avengers safely gone, there will be none to interfere, none to help him until my spell is complete. So she removes his helmet as he lays back on the couch. And look, in the time that follows, the exquisite Enchantress, aided by the effects of her powerful potion, weaves one of the strangest spells ever recorded as she conjures up images of the Avengers for the captive Thor. Images which makes him see them as evil, dangerous menaces. Look at how she has changed their appearance in Thor's mind. Look, Iron Man with his evil eyes and his claw-like fingers. Giant Man is stomping the city into submission. The Wasp flying with bat-like wings, waving a flaming torch, and Captain America with his wings upturned like horns, throwing his shield with demonic effect. Goodness, look at Thor's friends. Now he sees them as his enemies. So Thor is under the enchantress's spell as he imagines his other Avengers. Then she causes him to see himself as the only avenging hero capable of halting the threat of the Avengers. He thinks of himself as mankind's last hope in battling the mighty super team. Over and over the image is repeated, growing stronger each time until it is virtually branded into the Thunder God's subconscious, until he feels he must save humanity by battling the attacking Avengers. And as Thor succumbs to the spell, Enchantress says, "And now my work is done." When Thor awakens, he will feel that the Avengers are his mortal enemies. Soon there will be a battle such as the planet Earth has never known, and when it has ended, I shall devote all my talents, all my energies to making this most desirable of living beings become my own beloved. Aloud she says, "Awake, Thor, there is much for you to do, Thunder God." And so Thor awakes. He seizes his hammer and places his helmet on his head. The planet Earth holds many enemies of mankind, many enemies of yours, says the Enchantress. "Do you know who they are?" "Of course," says Thor, "though they have posed as my friends, now I truly know them for what they are." Oh no. And so Thor is going to set out to find the Avengers, and they're not going to understand why all of a sudden he attacks them. And so the first part of the Enchantress's scheme is done. Zemo has more plans for Captain America, and of course the Executioner will be back as well. And so what will happen when Thor attacks the other Avengers, and what will happen to Captain America as he searches out Dr. Zemo, his mortal enemy? All of that will take place in the next episode of our adventure of the Avengers, their darkest hour. I bet it'll lighten up again. What do you think? Not to give out any spoilers, right? I'll see you next time. I love y'all. Bye-bye.